very fun show. We are going to start in Dallas, Texas. Here we go. The Dallas Cowboys winning their 5th consecutive game and beating the Philadelphia Eagles in dominant fashion, 33-13. Dak Prescott a couple of touchdowns. The Dallas defense only giving up 6 points of total or 6 points to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts struggled. They turned the ball over. The Eagles offense did 3 times in this football game. Again, this is a battle of 2 of the powerhouses in the NFC. It's 2 teams we could very well see getting to this year's Super Bowl. So I will start with you first, Dylan. Were you more impressed by the Cowboys or unimpressed by the Eagles?
As much as I hate to give credit to the Cowboys, we have to give it up to them. The Eagles, I've been kind of low on the Eagles recently. Last time I was on the show, I called the Niners the favorites over the Eagles, despite the Eagles' great record they had at the time, and they've done nothing but lose since. They seem to be slowly running out of tricks in their bag, and the Cowboys are proving to be the real deal. They're playing fantastically on both sides of the ball. Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind. I'm very surprised by Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, he's made me a believer. I was definitely low on him to start the season, but now he's coming around for me to really treat him as a real good running back that could support the Cowboys for a potential playoff run.
Yeah, that's one thing that did surprise me about Dallas was their ability to run the football against that Philadelphia front. Obviously, Jalen Carter and Fletcher Cox and all the guys that they have up front over there in Philadelphia. Their ability to run, I think they had like 4.1 yards a carry, so they were really good in terms of running the football. So, Dylan, good take. And by the way, I should mention before I obviously see the 100 points for Dylan, I forgot to mention, I apologize to the audience. Let's look at our first round rules super quickly. A great take gives you 200 points. Good take gives you 100. Okay take gives you 50. And a bad take, you come home empty-handed with 0 points. But Dylan gets a good take, 100 points there. Solid take by Dylan. Again, I think the Cowboys running game was one of the bigger stories of that game. Again, the fact that Dak against an elite team, not an elite defense by any stretch, but an elite team nonetheless, did not have to play amazing for them to win is definitely bodes well for Dallas. To a Cowboys fan, Mike Guido, were you more impressed by the Cowboys or unimpressed by the Eagles?
I would say I'm more impressed by the Cowboys. I mean, there's definitely their fair share of disappointment when it comes to the Eagles, but what the Cowboys have been able to do for the last 6 or 7 weeks has been incredible. And it's really shown up, I think, in the past 2 weeks. Now, given Seattle is not an amazing team, I don't think that they're a bottom of the barrel team in the NFL, obviously, but it was one of those games where you felt like they needed to win like that, right? They go down to the wire with a lot of these games, and situational football is really where they kind of lack. And they found themselves, in a good spot in the Seahawk game. But I think as far as this game is concerned, I mean, this is one of those games where you proved what you are against bad teams against a good team, right? This is a team that takes the football away more than anybody in the league. This is the number 1 scoring offense in the league. This is the best team on third down. They're converting about 49% on third down. Listen, they can get after the quarterback. You're seeing now late in the season, you're seeing an emergence from Stephon Gilmore. Once he switched on to DK Metcalf last week, he was fantastic. So listen, I think what you're seeing from Dallas now is growth rather than regression. And I think with the Eagles, you're actually seeing a steady form of regression. Now the Eagles are going to be fine because their schedule gets really easy towards the end. But what Dallas is showing you right now, I think is very, very impressive.
It is impressive, and it's the fact that, again, against the Philadelphia Eagles team, that if you take the Niners game out, they'd shown an ability to score at the best against the best defense in the league. Even, talking about Buffalo's defense and teams like that. Kansas City, they were able to make some plays down the stretch. We know how good the Chiefs' defense has been this season. For Dallas to dominate the game in the fashion that they did. And, listen, you had A.J. Brown, one of the better receivers in the sport, but he poked the bear against one of the old guys, Stephon Gilmore, and he certainly got the better of that matchup. So, Mike Guido, I'm going to give you a great take, just across the board, a great take in terms of mentioning the Dallas Cowboys defense in terms of scoring defense. And we can I don't want to overreact too much, but over the last month, you can maybe call that Seahawks performance kind of a little bit of an outlier, but just a bad game, bad day at the office. Obviously, DK Metcalf was awesome in that game against Deron Bland. And so, like you said, making that adjustment, they're very well coached by Dan Quinn, obviously. To Adam Bessie of the Cowboys Can Fan Podcast, obviously another Cowboys fan, were you more impressed by the Cowboys or unimpressed by the Eagles?
I've been unimpressed by the Eagles all season long. So to have that continue on against the Cowboys at home, I'm impressed by how the Cowboys continue to show the naysayers and the analysts wrong. They say the Cowboys aren't an aggressive team, and we come out and we we shut down 3 of their number ones by forcing the fumbles and forcing those turnovers and getting those turnovers. So I'm just impressed that Dallas is stepping up to the challenge. Pre-game or pre-show, heard the little chirp about Cowboys are going to do Cowboys things, and that's what people have been seeing every single week to week, and we've been proving them wrong. So continuing to be impressed by how Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott are handling this offense, and the defense is coming up to a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who are like a generational team, and they just figure out how to win, and yet they didn't score an offensive touchdown. They had to rely on their special teams and Jalen Carter to put up points on the board. So even in a game where Dallas could have easily put up another 20 points, I was still impressed with how they answered the call and shut up a lot of the haters and the analysts, because this was step one to proving that the Cowboys are the real deal this year.
Yeah, because the narrative the next day, if Dallas had lost to Philly, would have been, see, they can't beat the good teams. See, they're a front-running team. They can only beat the, take advantage of the bad competition. There's no question about that. And I like the fact that you brought up the fact that, listen, we've kind of, I shouldn't say we've been thinking, but the general consensus is we're just waiting for them to kind of stumble over, and it really hasn't happened whatsoever. Like that Seahawks game was a prime opportunity, and they answered the call in the fourth quarter. I'm going to give Adam a great take here. 200 points for Adam. Great take right there for you, because I thought you bring a good take about Dallas's defense doing what they did against a high-powered Eagles offense, which I think was 6th in the NFL in scoring offense coming into this matchup. Finally, to you, Dalton, were you impressed by the Cowboys, or I should say more impressed by the Cowboys or more unimpressed by the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, I think I came away from that game more impressed with Dallas, but I think the writing was on the wall regarding how this game might go, just given the scheduling situation for each team. I mean, you take a look at the Eagles' schedule over the last month and a half. You go Dolphins, Commanders, and then you get Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys. I mean, this is the tail end of a really long stretch for them. It's a banged-up team. And it's a team that, while it's healthy, is not in its best form right now. That defense has been getting gashed week in and week out. I think there are legitimate reasons for concern in Philadelphia, but I think they have time to get healthy and get right against an easy back end of the schedule. Obviously, Dallas is in kind of the opposite spot, right? Dallas has cruised through a mostly easy schedule. At the end of the day, this is their first win over a team that currently has a winning record. But I don't want to take a lot away from Dallas, because at the end of the day, they blew them out. They did what they needed to do. They forced 3 turnovers. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. But I still think we're going to learn more about the Cowboys down the stretch as they get some of these games on the road, having to go to Buffalo, having to go to Miami. I still think we have more to learn about Dallas. I'm not ready to crown them yet. Who I am ready to crown is Dak Prescott. I think he is very deservingly at the top of the MVP race, and that I'm not quick to that opinion. That being said, he's going to have to earn it over these last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up an interesting point about Dallas. And I think the first guy I heard bring that up about last year for Dallas on the road is not necessarily that they're a bad road team necessarily, like the noise gets to them, is Jason Garrett mentioned last year. I remember before the 49ers playoff game, like they tend to struggle on grass, and we know younger teams, which most of Dallas's great players are younger guys in their 20s. The turf kind of plays to their speed. Obviously, guys like Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, it plays to their advantage. I'm glad you brought up Dak Prescott, Dalton, and what he's been able to do, and he is squarely in front of the MVP conversation. So I will give you a great take there, 200 points. We got a 3-way tie in first place at 200 points, and Dylan there at 100. We're still a very, very long way to go. We got a few comments here, and of course, everybody feel free to chime in the comment section. Barry Grant Jr. now Mr. Second Place, but you'd like that, Guido. He said, "Tush push my ass." He says, "Hurt." Mid AF, but I'm sure Guido will say he's elite, just like he said about Carson Wentz. For the record, Jalen Hurts better than Carson Wentz, but we can move. That's another discussion for another day.
Bryson, I will say this, just to interrupt. I'm sorry, because I have to rebut to that.
Sure,
that proves that he doesn't know anything about me at all, because you should know this. I have been everything but, or I should say, I have been nothing but a Jalen Hurts skeptic ever since he came into the league. So that proves he knows nothing about me at all. He doesn't even pay attention to what I say.
Listen, I hold a higher opinion of Jalen Hurts than most, but then again, I also hold a higher opinion of Dak Prescott than most. So it seemed like everybody's starting to come around to where I was at. But listen, we got some comments from the Cowboys camp and your guys, Adam. He says, Cowboys beat the Jets when they were 1-0. However, I will have to say, camp fan, Dalton did say a team that is currently over 500. So I will give you now, if it was at the time they had a winning record, I think the Rams game would, or not the Rams game, the Jets game would count, the Seahawks game would count, but nonetheless, still that remains